Hello and welcome to our presentation. Today we'll be discussing the Order Routing Manager, also known as ORM. My name is Tom and I'll be your presenter for this video. The Order Routing Manager is designed to process orders by allocating quantities for products and routing those products to the appropriate distribution center for processing and shipment. Before we get started, let's discuss some global components of Communicate Pro for StoneEdge. We've discussed those topics in a previous video, but we'll discuss it again for the benefit of those who haven't seen that video. Look to the bottom right of the status bar. On the right side of the status bar, you will see three panels. The first panel displays the name of the current user logged in to Communicate Pro. The next panel displays the company name, which in this case is Mishimoto Automotive. And finally, the last panel, which happens to be the most important panel for the purposes of Order Routing Manager development and testing, is the application version. The version info is crucial for development, testing, training, and production. I've sent an email explaining the three components to versioning we use, but I'll briefly explain it again for this presentation. Looking at the version panel, you will see displayed Rio 23.203. The components for the version are the platform Rio, the release year 23 for 2023, and finally the build or release number 203. Even number builds and those ending in multiple of 5 are public releases. Odd number builds are private releases. Mishimoto's build numbers will always be odd number from the current build onward. Let's get started with the Order Routing Manager or ORM presentation. Go to the ribbon bar and select the Analyzers tab. Navigate to the Custom Analyzer and select the Order Routing Manager menu item. When the Order Routing Manager first appears on the screen, it is empty and contains no orders. Before we discuss how to retrieve routable orders, let's discuss how to set DC priorities first. DC priorities determines the distribution center sequence for allocating and routing orders. Click the right mouse button anywhere within the ORM and select the DC priority command from the pop-up menu. The DC priority editor will appear. Let's explain some of the elements of the DC priority editor and how it works. There are three combo boxes each displaying a different distribution center. By default, the priority will always be DC1 for Delaware, DC2 for Nevada, and DC3 for cable. The default DC priority is persistent and does not change between routing sessions. You can, however, change the DC priority during a session. It will persist during that session. Furthermore, you can change DC priorities anytime during a session. Let's say you want to allocate and route all eBay Channel Advisor orders through cable. Simply set cable as DC1, then perform a search for eBay Channel Advisor routable orders. It's as simple as that and can be done for any combination of DCs and sources and carts. Next to the DC2 and DC3 combo boxes are checkboxes to activate or deactivate whichever distribution center is assigned to the DC. You can change the priority to whichever distribution center or sequence you require, but there are a couple of rules. The priority is always DC1 through DC3. For example, if you want to prioritize cable, then it needs to be assigned to DC1. DC1 has the first or highest priority, DC2 has the second or next highest priority, and DC3 is the lowest or last priority. Each DC assignment must be unique. No DC can be assigned to more than one DC simultaneously. To show you how easy it is to change DC priority, we're going to set DC1 to cable. You will immediately notice the OK button has been disabled. Recall the earlier rule, each DC assignment must be unique. Go to DC3 and select Delaware. The OK button is now enabled. The DC priority editor supports the ability to deactivate up to 2 DCs. You must have at least one DC active to allocate and route orders. Deactivation occurs in reverse order, DC3 then DC2. If you deactivate DC2 before deactivating DC3, the editor will automatically deactivate DC3. If you attempt to activate DC2 while DC3 is deactivated, the editor will activate DC3. The editor will not allow DC2 to be activated while DC3 is inactive, nor will it allow DC3 to be active while DC2 is not. The editor strictly enforces the deactivation rules DC3 and DC2. Lastly, let's discuss the command buttons located in the bottom right of the editor. The cancel button discards any changes made and resets to default values. The OK button applies the changes made for DC priority and activation. The reset button resets the editor to its default values. Now that you understand how the DC priority works, let's apply some of what we've learned. Make sure DC1 is set to cable. Adjust DC2 and DC3 to Delaware and Nevada. The order doesn't matter. Deactivate DC3 and DC2 by untoggling the active options for those DCs. Essentially, you are prioritizing cable for allocation and routing and ignoring the remaining DCs. Since the DC 2 and 3 are deactivated, no allocation or routing will occur for those DCs. Click on the OK button to set the DC priority. Now that we've set the DC priority, let's discuss the various ways to retrieve routable orders. Click the right mouse button anywhere within the ORM to view the pop-up menu. The two commands at the top of the pop-up menu are Search and Routing Ready. Routing Ready is essentially quick search for routable orders. The only filter applied is any order currently ready for routing. No other filter is applied, so selecting this command retrieves every single order ready for routing. If you want to be more selective about which subsets of routable orders to process, then select the Search command. The data filters for the Order Routing Manager will appear. The first set of filters we'll review are the filter options found in the upper right of the data filters. We'll review each of these filters and discuss their significance when filtering the Order Routing Manager. The Source filter limits the routable orders to the selected source of sale. For example, you could limit the routable orders to Mishimoto. This source filter is also known as a cart filter. The Ship Method filter limits the routable orders to the selected shipping method. Using this filter, you can limit routable orders to FedEx second day, for example. The Status filter limits routable orders to the selected order status. The Order Number filter provides a way to filter by order number. This filter features filter stacking technology, which allows searching for multiple orders simply by separating each order number with a semicolon. Note: the ORM will only display routable orders. Entering an order number not ready for routing will yield no results for the ORM. The next filter option is Ignore Dates. By default, the Ignore Dates option is toggled on. When toggled on, the date range selector and date options are ignored. If you wish to apply date range, toggle the Ignore Date option off. Let's take a closer look at the date options for the ORM. The date range option located upper left of the data filters is set to 30 days by default. This date range will retrieve and display routable orders to the last 30 days. You can select any range you like using the selectors, or manually adjust the starting and ending dates to whatever range you require. In the lower left of the data filters are the date options, which determine which date type is used for selecting sales data. The approval date is selected by default. The approval date is the preferred date when generating a list of routable orders. The data filters for the ORM include additional filter tabs located across the bottom. You can filter by order status, ship methods, and sources. You're probably thinking, aren't these the same filters found in the filter options section of the general filter tab? You would be correct, but there's a significant difference between these filters. The filters located in the filter tab permit multi-value filtering. For example, you can filter by both Mishimoto and Mishimoto B2B US simultaneously using the Source filter tab to retrieve routable orders for both carts. If you need to filter multiple values simultaneously, use the filter tabs. Now that we've explained the filter options and what they signify for the ORM, let's select some real-world filters so we can review routable orders. Go to the Source filter found in the General tab Filter Options section. From the drop-down list, select eBay Channel Advisor. Click the Apply button to apply the filters to the ORM. As you can see, there are 270 routable orders displayed. Retrieving routable orders with items ready to route automatically allocates item quantities and assigns those to the appropriate distribution centers. The allocation and DC assignments are based on the DC priority established earlier in this presentation. Cable was set as the primary DC with both Delaware and Nevada deactivated. As allocation occurs, the distribution center quantities are decremented since they will be reserved for the items ready for routing. As you can see from the results, all allocations and routings were directed to cable. No allocations or routings were routed to Delaware and Nevada since those DCs were deactivated. Let's review the data columns for the ORM so we can explain how the data is organized and what each of the groups and data points represent. The ORM features two data groups and a data page. The Order Info group contains essential data about the order. The DC Routing group contains the allocation, DC assignment, and routing status of the order. This group is further distinguished with a cream-colored background. The first set of columns we'll discuss are the Order Info group. The Order Number column is the assigned order number. The Approved column is the date the order was approved for routing. By default, orders are sorted by approval date, then order number. This sort order ensures that the oldest orders are allocated first. If multiple orders have the same approval date, it is then sorted by order number. Usually, lower order numbers mean older orders. The Source column indicates the source of sale or shopping cart. The next set of columns we'll discuss, which are the most important columns for the ORM, are in the DC Routing group. The quantity column represents the number of products contained in the order. The ship column represents the number of units shipped for the order. The allocated column represents the number of units allocated for the order. For successful allocation, this number should equal the number in the shipped column. When these two numbers disagree, it leads to the importance of the next column. The needed column represents the number of units still needed after allocation has been applied. The needed value indicates a shortfall, which means the quantity shipped is greater than the units that can be allocated. There may still be some units allocated, but is insufficient to fill the order. When the needed value is greater than 0, the order is not routable. We'll get to the routable column in a moment and explain its significance. The Delaware, Nevada, and cable columns represents the number of units allocated to the respective distribution centers. The routable column represents a yes or no value indicating that the order can be routed to a DC for fulfillment. A check indicates it can, and no check means it cannot. The CFM or confirmed column represents a yes or no value indicating if the order has been confirmed or committed for routing. Once an order has been confirmed or committed for routing, the order routing synchronizer will process the order and route it to the assigned distribution centers. Once an order has been routed to the DCs, it can no longer be deconfirmed, so be sure it's what you want. Since the order routing synchronizer executes periodically, there's a short window of opportunity to undo confirmations, but I would not rely on this. Rule of thumb: be sure of the allocation before confirming. The KS column represents the kit status for an order. There are 3 kit statuses. HK for has kits. The order contains a mix of kits and standard products. KO for kit only. The order contains only kits. NK for no kits contained in the order. The kit status column will likely not be part of the production release. We use this value to ensure kits and parts are processed properly by the ORM. Let's discuss the color scheme being used. We employ a basic color scheme anyone can understand. Red for stop, yellow for caution, and green for go. The allocated column will either be green or red. Green indicates the units allocated match the units ordered. If these columns disagree, then the needed column value will be red. If these columns agree, then the needed column value will be 0. Any positive value in the Delaware, Nevada, or cable columns will be colored green. It's possible to have green values within the Delaware, Nevada, and cable columns but still not be routable. The allocated and shipped values must be equal for an order to be routable. The order is not routable anytime the needed value is greater than 0. These are the current rules for routing orders. The next feature we'll discuss are the data pages. In general, data pages for the ORM contain additional detailed information for the selected order. The data page contains 4 panels. We'll explain each panel starting at the top with the order info and work our way to the bottom with the order routing. The order info panel provides basic order and shipping info. The products panel provides a list of ordered products along with an allocation and routing summary for each. The format used for this panel makes it easier to understand product allocation and routing. Before we proceed, select order number 484207 for the next portion of the presentation. The Products panel has an Edit DC feature for overriding routing and allocations by the ORM. Click the right mouse button within the Products panel and select Edit DC. Let's say you want Nevada to fulfill 1 to 3 units allocated for this order. Go to the Nevada Spin Edit box and change the value from 0 to 1. Notice the OK button is now disabled. You cannot apply your changes because the item is over allocated. You will need to decrement cable by 1 unit for the OK button to re-enable so you can apply your changes. Let's change the allocation for cable. Go to the Cable Spin Edit box and change the value from 3 to 2. Once the cable DC value is set to 2, the OK button is enabled. Click on the OK button to save your changes. See how easy it is to override allocations and routings? The Distrib Center Quantities panel displays the current quantity on hand at each DC for each item ordered. The Order Routing panel displays all the routing info submitted for the order so the order routing synchronizer can process it accordingly. There will be a record for each product and DC assignment. Let's discuss some additional features found in the ORM. Click the right mouse button anywhere with the ORM to view the pop-up menu. There are 2 menu commands, Confirm All and Confirm, we'll be discussing. The Confirm commands confirms or commits orders for routing. The routable indicator must be true or checked for an order to be confirmed for routing. The Confirm All command confirms and commits all routable orders for routing at once. If you want to confirm selected orders instead, there is a way to do that for either single or multiple selected items. Let me show you how to confirm multiple selected items simultaneously. First, go to Ribbon Bar and click on the Display button. The Display Options dialog will appear. Go to the Grid Settings section and toggle on the Multi-Select option if not already toggled on. Click on the OK button to apply the grid settings. Select a few orders randomly. Click the right mouse button anywhere within the ORM and select the Confirm selector from the pop-up menu. A dialog appears and prompts you to proceed. Select the Yes button. See how easy that was to confirm and commit select the allocations for routing? Now that we've explained how to use the ORM, let's discuss a few other features you might find useful. One last feature we'll discuss is column filtering. All data analyzers feature column filtering, which allows you to filter data with the values in a column. Hover your mouse to the right of the column named Source until a filter image applies. Click on the filter button to view the list of unique values found within the source column from the drop-down menu. Select the value Mishimoto B2B US from the list. The ORM now displays 41 routable orders listed instead of the original 1,381. Now select the value Mishimoto from the list. The ORM now displays 1,111 items with both Mishimoto B2B US and Mishimoto Source of Sales selected. Now click on All located at the top of the drop-down list. Selecting All removes any filters for the column and restores the ORM to the original 1,381 routable orders. You can filter multiple columns simultaneously. Column filters are applied in the order selected. For example, you could filter Mishimoto for the source and UPS next day air for the ship method. Filter refinements like this can help you drill down the data so you can better manage the allocation and routing process. There are many other features Communicate provides, like data exporting and printing, for example. We'll discuss those at another time. Lastly, let's discuss session cleanup. The ORM automatically cleans up an allocation and routing session. Essentially, any unconfirmed orders remaining when the session ends is automatically deallocated. When an allocation occurred, the quantities for the respective DCs are decremented. Unconfirmed allocations need to be returned to the respective DCs and those quantities incremented. This is done automatically by the ORM. This concludes our presentation of the Order Routing Manager for Mishimoto Automotive. For the most part, this presentation covered all the functionality necessary for the Order Routing Manager. Questions, comments, and feedback are always welcome. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.